What's up, guys? Welcome to the Knockers on the Bottom post game. I'm your host, J Mill. J Mill, if you like. So, hey, let's get into it. So, Cowboys played the Ravens today. Lost pretty handily. Don't even remember what the score was, but it is what it is. Um, so, some of the good things to take away from today's game: Andrew Booth coming through with the interception bright and early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? He read the play, and then when the ball was thrown, he stepped in front, took it back to the house, and that was nice to see from him. Even though I don't expect him to be a major player on the team, it was nice to see him do a little something, something. But on the flip side, we had Joe Melton pretty much, I feel like, regressing from last week. So I've been a big proponent of you have to allow your backup quarterback a chance to develop, a chance to play, a chance to see what he's got. And once you see what he's got, you got to develop that a little more, see what he's got. But today, he played pretty poorly. And I honestly think more poorly than last week. Like last week, there was a point where he settled down. He kind of got the offense going a little bit, completed some passes, and made it a little bit more palatable from what you had seen in the first half. Today, I felt like he never settled down at all. You pretty much got the same Joe Melton in the second half as you got in the first half. So it is what it is, you know. Hopefully, another week of practice, get to see him again next week, see what he has. But right now, it's interesting to see the same performance, or actually a little bit worse of a performance 2 weeks in, and maybe that'll change. I do have to review the tape and see what that is. I like what I saw from Tyler Booker a couple of times. He got some nice push off the ball. There's one particular time where they show him getting some nice push off the ball and the running back kind of running right behind him, and he had a nice gain. So Tyler Booker still, showing me some promise there. I didn't see much from Cooper Beebe, even though he played today. Jonathan Mingo, nice catch down the right sideline. There was a play, medium of the game. It's probably Joe Milton's best throw tonight. He drops back, after getting the pass, and Jonathan Mingo is running a route down the offense's right, defense's left. He's running towards the sideline. Joe Milton throws it. He has some nice touch on the pass. Mingo is nice with the late hands. Late hands are my thing. It's my love language. And he was nice with the late hands. And he caught the ball down the sideline. But then a couple of plays later, he kind of came up gimpy. And he was pretty much done for the rest of the night. But that play was nice. Probably Joe Milton's, like I said, best throw tonight. And hopefully, after another week of practice, we get more consistency in that place. But on the defensive side, we saw a few good things. Perion Winfrey showed up. I highlighted Andrew Booth a little bit earlier. Maris Leofow shot the gap on a nice run play, which allowed his other defenders to get there and make the tackle. So that was nice to see. Izzy McQuamo played several different positions. He played on the outside. He played back at safety. He played in the slot. He didn't get any interceptions, but it was interesting to see the Cowboys playing him at different positions just to kind of see what you would get from him. There was some nice running in the game from Deuce Vaughn. He showed some power on one of the runs up the middle. It wasn't completely up the middle. It was like middle left. Offense is left, defense is right. It was only a 5-yard gain, but it seemed like the low center of gravity, because Deuce doesn't have anything other than a low center of gravity, but it seemed like the low center of gravity, he went up there, he ran hard, put his shoulder down, and got maybe about a 6-yard gain out of that play. And it probably was because he was low to the ground. Now, there were a few other plays where he just got basically touched by one finger in the backfield, and all of a sudden he was down on the ground. But we're not going to highlight that. We ain't even going to talk about that. We're going to leave that over there. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, Deuce had an okay game. Malik Davis had a nice big run up the middle at least one time, but I think it came back in a holding penalty. But he did have a nice run up the middle. Also defensively, besides Pierre and Winfrey, James Houston showed up with a couple of nice big hits on the quarterback on passing situations. He got some pressure, he got some hits. And if Cooper Rush would have kept it for like a minute longer, not a minute, a second or two longer, James Houston definitely would have took him down. So that was also nice to see. But there were a lot of bad things as well. Run defense looked pretty bad as far as being able to hold the edge. There were some times where, specifically one play, I remember Donovan Ezeraku rushing up outside, right? Which is fine if your linebacker is going to come fill that hole because your defensive tackle was taking on the guard / center. But what happened is Donovan Ezeraku rushed and he won hard up the left side, but it wasn't a passing play. It was a running play. So when the run came in right behind him, he was already walled off. The defensive tackle rushed hard inside for a run. He was playing run defense, but he rushed hard inside as Ezeraku rushed hard outside, and there was no linebacker to fill the gap. And it ended up being like a 12, 13-yard run. And honestly, that happened so many times to the Cowboys tonight. But that's more scheme situated, and I feel like with better players in there at that situation, you won't necessarily get the same results. So, if that is Ezeraku and that is, Mozzie Smith, or that is Osa Digizua, and then a linebacker filling is Damaris Leofau, and the other linebacker scraping is Jack Sanborn. You get some stuff because early in the game, Jack Sanborn doing his thing. Damone Clark doing his thing. So I feel like the Cowboys had several times in the game where they were doing what they do. It's nice to see Butter Aubrey as well, being very focused, being very, I don't know how to call it, by the books, by the numbers, mundane, whatever you want to say. He is predictable, as in he does his job, he hits the field goal, it's going to happen. Same thing with the punter, does his job, punts it down there, it's going to happen. So special teams looks good. Jalen Cropper looked forgettable. Ryan Flournoy had a couple of chances in there, one or two were badly positioned, but for the most part, he looked okay. Keeman Hall came up with a nice interception over the middle with the receiver missing the pass, or actually he didn't miss it, it went through his hands. Keeman Hall pinned it to his chest, ended up being an interception. Childress was a little sticky in coverage, but at other times led up big plays. Same thing with Keeman Hall, a little sticky in coverage at times, other times led up big plays. So the Cowboys, it looks like their weak spots are nickel, one technique, and those look like the most challenging spots on defense at the moment. But if I asked you to name the spots on the Cowboys defense where you thought there would be challenges, I'm pretty sure you would say nickel and one technique. So that's what kind of showed up there. Again, we don't necessarily know 100% of what the coaches are asking them. So there could be, if the coaches are asking different things, and I'm sure they are, in the preseason, then they will be asking in the regular season. That's why you get what you get, and that's okay. Like I said, preseason, you have to focus on the process, not necessarily the outcome, and you have to focus on the piece of the puzzle, and kind of try to see the vision based on the guy performing how he did, and then putting the other starters and Pro Bowlers and all those things around him. And the Cowboys got some good stuff from pieces, but not so much from other pieces. And, we'll see what happens with Joe Melton next week. And I'd love to go back and review the tape because I don't know necessarily if all of the bad throws were Joe Melton's decision, or whether it was the receiver, or whether it was a bad play call, or whether it was just good coverage and good pass rush by the Ravens. So it'll be nice to go back and review the tape, which I will do. And then once I do that, I'll be able to jump on and hit you guys with a little bit more. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit me up, J Miller, IYL. That's on Twitter. You can also hit me up on knockersonthebottom@outlook.com, knockersonthebottom@gmail.com. Leave comments below, any questions that you have, anything specific that you want me to cover, or just shit you want to say. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm your host, J Mill if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.